Hi everyone, Richard from Digital Foundry here, and I've got some pretty important news for PC owners interested in buying Street Fighter V. You really need to have hardware capable of running this game at 60 FPS. Well, the good news is that the game is very light on CPU resources, but the GPU, well, that's a different story. The game can be quite taxing on the graphics card, and it's absolutely essential that you scale your settings to match. Otherwise, in offline matches, this is what you see. Yup, our GTX 750 Ti barely flickers above 30 FPS, but the interesting thing is that Street Fighter V's gameplay is tied to the frame rate, kinda like old 16-bit consoles. So if frame rate drops, you don't see frame skipping as such, the entire simulation slows down. So what about playing online? Well, Street Fighter V will grudgingly accommodate you. Frame skipping is engaged, but playing the title you can easily see why Capcom decided that the optimal solution is to tie frame rate to gameplay. Dropping frames here just feels wrong. Street Fighter V is extremely difficult to control in these circumstances, and to put it simply, you're gonna get owned in the arena. So I guess the next question is pretty straightforward. What hardware do you need to play the game at console equivalent settings or better? And can our trusty 750 Ti actually deliver a decent 1080p experience? Well, even with an overclock in place, the 750 Ti struggles with medium quality presets across the board. We're being conservative here, running post-processing effects and anti-aliasing at the low setting, but we do hit that consistent 60 FPS, and there is some additional room to maneuver here. We can probably up anti-aliasing to medium to match PS4, but the game also has a resolution scaler that can save a lot of GPU cycles, and the quality level of that is really quite impressive. In fact, it's probably the best we've seen. You'll need something along the lines of a GTX 950 to match or exceed console quality levels, and that's what we're doing here. We're operating at medium for post-processing, shadows and effects, textures and anti-aliasing are set to high, and once again we're getting the locked 60 FPS we need for quality gameplay. It's a really good experience actually, and again there is room to experiment here with higher quality settings, but you've got to accept that there may be some trades in order to sustain that frame rate. So next up, what do you need to max out Street Fighter V at 1080p 60? Well, here we're testing the GTX 960 up against the Radeon equivalent, the R9 380. This seems to give us the horsepower we need to get the job done with only the occasional, almost unnoticeable frame rate drop. We're literally talking about a couple of frames dotted around gameplay, though purists looking for an absolutely locked frame rate would probably do well to drop settings down to high. However, curiously, you can sometimes drop frames during KOs, intros and outros. Now, it's interesting to note that the GTX 960 is Capcom's recommended card for this game. And finally, we'll end with the Battle Royale, GTX 970 and R9 390. Bearing in mind the power differential between these cards and the 960 and the 380, it's perhaps no surprise to see that we get even more stability here across the run of play at max settings. But again, curiously, we do sometimes see that things can go very slightly awry during intros and outros. Now, we're going to stress here that we are using existing drivers from both GPU vendors. During the testing phase, we didn't have access to any game-specific optimized driver that may be coming along, so we may well see improvement here. But that's where we're at for now. Budget-level PCs will require a lot of tweakery to get the gameplay into shape, but those with even mid-level enthusiast gaming rigs should be able to enjoy a great 1080p 60 experience. Well, I hope you found this video useful. Please do give us a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to Digital Foundry so you don't miss a thing. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.